The stars outside the station looked like tiny white sparks in the endless black sky. Ethan Cole leaned against the viewing glass of the orbital trade hub called Orion Spire, watching the slow movement of ships docking and leaving. He had always loved space. As a child on Earth, he dreamed about the day humanity would finally step beyond their world and meet others. Now, as an adult engineer working among aliens, he thought he should feel proud. Yet at that moment, Ethan only felt nervous. He had just received a new assignment, working with someone from the Veyari species. The Veyari were famous across the galaxy for their telepathy. They could hear thoughts, sense emotions, and even share ideas without speaking. To humans, this gift was both fascinating and frightening. Ethan muttered under his breath, "Great. A mind reader. Just what I need," he shook his head. His thoughts were never calm or organized. They often jumped from serious work to silly daydreams in seconds. He imagined fixing machines one moment, and the next moment he would picture himself as a hero, flying through space with a cape. Worse, sometimes he thought of embarrassing things he wished no one could ever know. And now, he had to spend his workdays beside someone who might hear everything. The engineering bay of Orion Spire was filled with the hum of machines and the smell of heated metal. Sparks danced as robotic arms repaired parts of the station's energy grid. Ethan walked inside, his tool belt clinking, and found his new partner already waiting. She stood tall, her figure graceful, her skin pale with a faint shimmer like moonlight. Her dark eyes seemed deep, as if they could look straight through him. Her hair was silver blue, flowing like strands of light. This was Lysera of Veyari. When their eyes met, Ethan swallowed hard. "Don't think anything stupid. Don't think anything stupid." Lysera tilted her head slightly, her lips curving into a small smile. "Hello, Ethan," she said in perfect standard English. Her voice was calm, soft, and musical. "I look forward to working with you." Ethan forced a smile. "Yeah, same here. I'll, try not to blow anything up." Her smile widened a little, as if she found his nervous joke amusing. For a moment, Ethan wondered, did she hear that thought too? They began their work. The station's power conduits had been unstable for weeks, and Ethan had been tasked with helping stabilize the systems. Lysera joined him, her long fingers moving across glowing control panels. At first, Ethan tried to keep his thoughts focused on technical details. Conduit temperature rising, must reroute power flow, check the diagnostics, but his mind betrayed him quickly. Her hair looks like starlight. "Focus, Ethan. Don't stare too much." "Wait, did she hear that?" Lysera glanced at him with a small laugh in her eyes. She said nothing, only kept working. Ethan's face warmed. He cleared his throat and bent over his data pad, pretending to study numbers. He thought furiously, "Stop thinking like an idiot. Think about wires. Think about bolts. Think about..." And then his imagination betrayed him again. What if she already hates me? What if she thinks humans are weird? Oh no, what if she hears this too? Lysera finally spoke, her tone calm. "You worry too much, Ethan," he froze. I what? "You think in loud colors," she said simply, not looking away from the console. "It is different, but not unpleasant." Ethan blinked. "Loud colors?" "Yes. Human minds are full of pictures, emotions, and sudden jumps. Most Veyari keep their thoughts controlled like still water. Yours is more like a river in motion. Chaotic. Alive." She finally looked at him, and for the first time, Ethan did not see coldness in her dark eyes. He saw curiosity. Ethan rubbed the back of his neck. "Well, sorry about that. My brain has a mind of its own." Lysera gave the faintest laugh, a sound like chimes. "Do not apologize. I like it." Hours passed as they worked side by side. At first, Ethan kept stumbling over his words, worried about every stray thought. But Lysera's calm presence slowly put him at ease. Whenever his mind slipped into clumsy or silly daydreams, she didn't scold him or show annoyance. Instead, she smiled as if she found it refreshing. When Ethan thought, "This wiring looks like a nest of angry snakes," Lysera chuckled softly and said aloud, "Yes, it does resemble that." Ethan nearly dropped his wrench. Hey, that was supposed to stay inside my head." Her expression was calm but playful. "Why hide it? It is a creative image. Your thoughts have life." Ethan groaned, covering his face with one hand. "Great. Now you're going to hear all my bad jokes too." "Perhaps," she said gently, "but they are not bad to me." Later that shift, as they finished a long repair, the overhead lights flickered. The station trembled slightly. Ethan braced himself against the wall. Power surge again? Lysera closed her eyes, focusing. Yes, but it is not random. The surge comes from deeper in the system. Ethan frowned. Deeper? You mean the main conduit trunk? She nodded. If we do not stabilize it, the station may lose power to half the living quarters. Half the living quarters? That's thousands of people. Ethan felt his heart race. His mind leaped into frantic planning. Reroute power, shut valves, maybe even cut secondary lines. Lysera touched the console, and her voice entered his mind for the first time. Clear and gentle. Do not panic. Think. I will follow your thoughts. Ethan froze at the sensation. Her voice was inside his head, so calm, steady. He had never experienced something like this. He thought quickly, almost in a rush. If we reroute power to the secondary junctions, it might hold. But if the pressure spikes, the relays will blow. Unless we cool the system first. Wait, what if we use the coolant from Sector 5? Lysera's eyes glowed faintly, and she moved her hands across the controls. Yes, I see it. Your idea will work. Together, they executed the plan. Valves hissed, systems shifted, and the lights finally steadied. The hum of the station evened out again. Crisis avoided. Ethan let out a deep breath. That was close. Lysera turned to him, her eyes shining softly. Your quick thoughts saved us. Ethan shook his head. No, we saved us. I just thought out loud. You're the one who turned it into action. She smiled, and for a brief moment Ethan forgot to breathe. As the shift ended, they walked together through the quiet corridors. The station's artificial night cycle dimmed the lights, giving the halls a soft glow. Ethan felt both relieved and uneasy. Finally, he asked, So, what's it like hearing my thoughts all the time? Annoying, exhausting? Lysera looked at him, her silver blue hair catching the faint light. No, Ethan, it is refreshing. Most minds I hear are calm, controlled, and predictable. Yours is different. It surprises me. It makes me laugh. It makes me feel alive. Ethan blinked. Wait, you like it? Yes, her tone was firm but gentle. I like your thoughts. For a moment, Ethan could not find words. He had always thought of his restless, wandering mind as a weakness. Now here was someone telling him it was a gift. As they reached the parting corridor, Lysera stopped. Tomorrow we will continue the repairs. Ethan nodded slowly. Yeah, tomorrow. She gave him one last smile, soft and knowing. Do not fear your thoughts, Ethan. They are what make you human, and I enjoy them. With that, she walked away, leaving Ethan standing in the corridor with his heart racing and his mind louder than ever. He pressed a hand to his forehead, laughing quietly to himself. Great, she reads my thoughts. And she loves them. What kind of story am I living in? He didn't know the answer yet. But he knew one thing. Tomorrow would not be boring. The next morning, Ethan Cole walked through the wide corridors of Orion Spire with heavy steps. He had barely slept. His mind had been too noisy, replaying every moment from yesterday with Lysera. She said she likes my thoughts, Ethan whispered to himself as he entered the engineering bay. How is that even possible? To him, his thoughts were a mess of silly pictures, embarrassing daydreams, and random worries. Yet Lysera, a telepath from the calm and controlled Vayari race, had told him she enjoyed them. It felt strange, but also good. When he entered the bay, he saw her already there, standing by a console. She moved with smooth grace, her silver blue hair shining under the bright overhead lights. Her focus was sharp as she studied the energy readings. Lysera turned her head slightly as if she had already sensed him. Good morning, Ethan. Morning, he replied, trying not to sound nervous. Ready to wrestle with the grid again? Her lips curved in a faint smile. Yes, together we will manage. Working side by side, the day's task was complicated. They had to stabilize the secondary junction lines which powered living quarters, gardens, and medical bays. If the systems failed, thousands of people would lose heat, air, and water. Ethan pulled up diagrams on his datapad, chewing his lip. All right, we need to reroute from here, but the relays are old. They'll blow if we put too much pressure. His mind ran through possible solutions, some clever, some ridiculous. What if we just plug it with duct tape? No, that's stupid. But hey, maybe if we use coolant as a buffer again. Lysera's voice was calm. The coolant idea has promise. Ethan looked at her sharply. Wait, you caught that? Yes. Her tone was gentle, not mocking. You imagine quickly. It is like seeing many paths at once. Some are foolish, but others shine like stars. Ethan chuckled, scratching his head. Yeah, well, my brain doesn't come with a filter. That is good, Lysera replied softly. Filters are overrated. The human mind is a storm. Hours passed as they worked together. Ethan adjusted wires and tightened bolts, while Lysera read energy flows through her telepathic sensitivity. Every so often, Ethan's mind wandered. These conduits look like spaghetti. I could really go for some pasta right now. Wait, does she even know what pasta is? Oh no, don't imagine it, don't imagine it. Lysera suddenly tilted her head, amusement flashing in her dark eyes. Spaghetti? Ethan groaned. You weren't supposed to hear that. She laughed softly. Show me. Confused, Ethan closed his eyes and pictured a plate of pasta, long noodles covered in tomato sauce sprinkled with cheese. He imagined steam rising from the dish, the smell of garlic and herbs filling the air. Lysera blinked, then let out a small breath. Strange, but delightful. Ethan opened his eyes. Wait, you like that? Yes, I could almost taste it. Her expression was calm, but her voice held quiet wonder. Human thoughts are rich with images. We Veyari rarely imagine so strongly. Our minds are quieter. Yours is like a storm. Chaotic but full of life. Ethan froze, surprised by the warmth in her words. For the first time in his life, he felt that his messy brain wasn't a weakness, it was a gift. Moments of laughter. As they repaired junction after junction, small moments of laughter filled the long hours. When Ethan thought, these wires are like angry snakes again, Lysera giggled softly and said, Careful, or they might bite you. When his mind wandered to a childhood memory of building toy rockets, she smiled and said, Little Ethan dreamed of stars even then. Ethan blushed. Hey, don't go digging too far back. I did not dig, she replied, her tone light. Your memory rose like a bubble. It made me smile. At one point, Ethan's tired brain imagined the two of them as comic book heroes, wearing capes and saving the station from disaster. Lysera tilted her head and said, I do not mind the cape. It suits you. Ethan nearly dropped his wrench, laughing so hard he had to sit down. It was strange. He had feared working with a telepath would be humiliating. Instead, it felt freeing. He didn't need to hide anything, because Lysera never judged him. She found joy in the very things he once thought of as flaws. Trust in chaos. By midday, they faced their hardest challenge yet. A surge rippled through the conduits, threatening to overload the system. Sparks burst and alarms blared. Ethan cursed under his breath, his mind racing. If this keeps up, the junction will fry. We'll lose the medbay. Too many lives at risk. Okay, think fast. Lysera placed a hand on the panel, her dark eyes glowing faintly as she read the flow. Ethan, guide me with your thoughts. I will act. He nodded quickly, focusing as hard as he could. Cut the main feed, yes, now. Good, now reroute through the secondary valve. No, wait, it'll explode. Cool it first. Yes, use the coolant, then push the flow into the stabilizers. Lysera's hands moved in perfect rhythm with his racing thoughts. She didn't question, didn't hesitate. She trusted him completely. Together, they calmed the surge. The alarms faded. The conduit steadied. The station returned to normal. Ethan let out a shaky laugh, wiping sweat from his brow. That was insane. Lysera's voice was steady. No, that was trust. Ethan blinked. Trust? Yes. She met his gaze firmly. I trusted your storm, and it led us through. A bond begins to grow. After the crisis, they took a break sitting on the metal steps at the side of the bay. Ethan sipped water while Lysera sat silently, her hands folded neatly in her lap. He finally said, So, you actually trust my crazy brain? Lysera nodded. Yes, it is unpredictable, but it is honest. It does not hide. It does not lie. That is rare among minds. Ethan stared at her, stunned. You make it sound like my mess is something. Good. It is, she said softly. Your chaos has saved lives today. Ethan felt a warmth in his chest, something he had never felt before. For so long he had thought of his restless mind as a weakness, something to be ashamed of. But Lysera was showing him another truth. Maybe humanity's imperfection was its strength. For a long moment they sat in silence. The only sound was the hum of machines around them. Yet Ethan felt more connected to her than he had to anyone in years. End of the day, as their shift ended, they walked through the quiet corridors once again. The artificial night cycle dimmed the lights, casting soft shadows. Ethan finally asked, "Lysera, why me? You could read anyone's mind here. Why spend your time with mine?" She paused, her silver blue hair glowing faintly under the lights. Her dark eyes met his, calm and steady. "Because," she said slowly, "your mind makes me feel something I've never felt before. It is messy. It is noisy. But it is alive. It makes me laugh. It makes me curious. It makes me want to stay." Ethan stopped walking, stunned. He had no clever reply. His thoughts went wild. Did she just say she wants to stay? What does that mean? Is she just being kind, or does she actually... Lysera smiled faintly as if hearing all of it. "Yes, Ethan, I mean it." Then without another word she turned and walked away, leaving Ethan standing in the hallway with his heart pounding. He leaned against the wall, shaking his head with a laugh. Unbelievable. She reads my thoughts, and she loves them. And I think I'm starting to love hers too. For the first time in a long while, Ethan didn't feel embarrassed about who he was. He felt seen, and he had the strange feeling that this was only the beginning. The following week on Orion Spire began like any other. Ships came and went, docking with the great orbital hub. Merchants traded, diplomats argued, and engineers like Ethan Cole kept the giant station alive. But under the shining surface, something dangerous was building. The power systems had been unstable for months. Ethan and Lysera had repaired several junctions already, but the deeper conduit still carried strange surges, as if the station itself were under attack from within. Ethan didn't know yet that soon, those surges would threaten everyone aboard. An uneasy start, Ethan walked into the engineering bay with his tool belt clinking, but he felt a strange heaviness in the air. The machines hummed as usual, yet the sound seemed sharper, restless. Lysera stood by the central console, her silver blue hair glowing faintly under the lights. She was silent, her eyes half closed in focus. Ethan frowned. "Morning. You look like you didn't sleep." Her voice was quiet. "I did not." The station's energy, it whispers strangely. It is not just failing. It is being pushed. Pushed? "You mean like sabotage?" Ethan asked, his stomach tightening. Lysera met his eyes. "Perhaps. The patterns are not natural." Ethan exhaled slowly. He had feared something like this. Technical problems were one thing. Machines broke and humans fixed them. But sabotage meant intent. It meant someone wanted Orion Spire to fall. The first alarms not long after the alarms began. A deep red glow filled the corridors as sirens echoed. Ethan and Lysera rushed to the nearest terminal. "Life support in Sector 7 failing," a voice crackled through the comms. "We're losing oxygen." Ethan's heart pounded. "That's the residential quarter. Thousands of people live there." Lysera's eyes glowed faintly as she closed them, reaching out with her telepathic senses. "I feel the power lines, cut deliberately. Someone wants panic." Ethan swore under his breath. His thoughts tumbled out. "We need to reroute power fast." "Coolant flow?" "No, too slow. Direct line bypass, yes, maybe through the medbay junction." "But what if it overloads?" Think. Lysera's calm voice echoed in his mind. "Do not fear the storm. Guide me." Ethan nodded quickly. "All right. Let's move." Racing against failure. They ran to the junction chamber, a huge room filled with glowing conduits and buzzing control panels. The heat was intense, sparks bursting from broken lines. Ethan coughed from the smoke. "This is bad. If we don't stabilize now, the whole sector loses oxygen." He bent over the controls, his thoughts flying faster than his hands. "Cut the damaged line, seal it. Redirect power through auxiliary channel 3. Wait, channel 3 is unstable. Fine. Reinforce it with emergency dampers." Lysera's hands moved almost in harmony with his thoughts. She didn't need explanations. She didn't need commands. She simply trusted the chaos of his mind. Panels hissed as power shifted. The red alarms dimmed slightly, then steadied. A voice on the comm shouted, "Sector 7 stabilizing, oxygen returning." Ethan sagged against the wall, sweat dripping down his face. "We did it. For now." But Lysera's expression was grave. "It will not stop here. Whoever is behind this will strike again." Sabotage confirmed. Later that day, a council meeting was called. Ethan was not a politician, but Lysera insisted he attend. Together they entered the chamber filled with humans and aliens of many kinds. The station commander, a stern woman named Captain Duran, spoke firmly. We have confirmed sabotage. Someone inside Orion Spire is cutting power lines. This is no accident, gasps and angry voices filled the room. A reptilian traitor hissed. If the humans cannot keep order, perhaps the Veyari should take control. Another alien shouted back, it is not only humans aboard this station. Do not throw blame without proof. The room filled with tension, but Lysra raised her voice gently. Ethan and I have seen the patterns. They are deliberate. But we also saw that human instinct, his instinct, saved thousands today. All eyes turned to Ethan. His heart raced, but he stood straighter. Look, I'm no soldier. I just fix things. But whoever is doing this knows the systems well. They're clever. They're fast. If we want to stop them, we'll need to be even faster. The commander nodded slowly. Then you and Lysra will lead the response. Find the saboteur. Keep this station alive. Ethan blinked in shock. Wait, me, lead? I'm just an engineer. Lysra's calm voice flowed into his mind. Yes, but your storm is exactly what we need. The next strike. The saboteur did not wait long. Only hours later, another crisis erupted. This time, the fusion core stabilizers began to fail. If they went offline, the entire station could lose power, or worse, explode. Ethan and Lysra rushed to the reactor chamber. The room shook with violent tremors, panels sparking wildly. Engineers shouted in panic, but no one could keep up with the chaos. Ethan stared at the mess. His brain screamed with possibilities. Shut it down. No, too slow. Reinforce the shields. No, won't last. Overload venting. Dangerous, but maybe just enough time. Lysra touched his arm, steadying him. I am here. Think freely. Ethan focused hard, letting his thoughts run wild. Lysra followed every burst of panic, every leap of logic. Together they danced through the crisis, venting pressure here, sealing valves there, rerouting flow in ways no one else would dare attempt. Finally, the reactor steadied. The tremors slowed. The danger passed. Ethan collapsed against the rail, gasping for breath. That was too close. Lysra's gaze was steady. But we succeeded. Because I trusted your chaos. A secret revealed after the crisis as the engineers repaired what they could. Ethan and Lysra stepped aside. He rubbed his temples. I don't get it. How do you keep up with my thoughts? They're a mess. Half the time I don't even know what I'm thinking. Lysra hesitated, then spoke softly. Because I have been focusing only on you. Ethan blinked. Only me? Yes, usually I hear many minds at once. The station is loud, thousands of voices, but when I met you I chose to shut them out. I hear only your storm now. Ethan's mouth went dry. Wait, you've been inside my head this whole time? Just me? She nodded, her eyes calm but serious. Yes, your thoughts are not like others. They are wild, unpolished, alive. They make me laugh. They make me feel. I do not want to hear anyone else. Ethan's heart pounded. His thoughts raced even louder. She chose me. Out of everyone on this station, why? Why would she? Lysra smiled faintly. Because your storm is beautiful. Ethan had no words. For a man who lived his life fixing machines, who always thought of himself as ordinary, those words hit harder than any explosion. The aftermath of trust that night. Ethan couldn't sleep. He lay in his small quarters staring at the ceiling. His mind replayed Lysra's words again and again. She shut out everyone else. Just for me, it scared him. It thrilled him. It made him wonder what kind of bond was forming between them. The station was still in danger. The saboteur was still free. More crises were certain to come. But as Ethan closed his eyes, one truth burned bright in his chaotic thoughts. He was no longer alone. Lysra trusted his storm. And he trusted her calm. Together they were stronger than either could be alone. And deep down Ethan knew this was only the beginning of something far greater than he had ever imagined. The crisis had passed for now, but Orion Spire was not the same. News of the sabotage spread across the station like fire. Every corridor echoed with whispers. Every market stall buzzed with rumors. Humans blamed aliens. Aliens blamed humans. And trust between species began to crack. Ethan Cole felt the tension in every step he took. Only days ago he had been just another engineer, fixing broken parts in the shadows of the great station. Now people stared at him wherever he went. Some looked with admiration, others with suspicion. He wasn't sure he liked the attention. The hero engineer it started when Captain Duran announced that Ethan and Lysera had saved thousands of lives. His quick thinking and her telepathic link had stopped two major disasters. The council called him the human who thought fast enough to outsmart sabotage. To Ethan it felt strange. He wasn't a soldier or a leader or a hero. He was just a man with a messy brain that never shut up. Still, when he walked through the crowded halls, humans clapped him on the back, thanking him. Some smiled proudly and said, "You've shown them what humans can do." Ethan forced smiles, but inside he felt heavy. I didn't do this alone, he thought. Lysera was with me every step. Why do they forget her? The Vayaris doubt on the other side of the station. Lysera faced a different reaction. Among her own people, the Vayari, whispers spread about her bond with a human. Why anchor yourself to such chaos? One elder asked her in the gathering hall. Our strength is in calmness. His storm will drown you. Lysera bowed respectfully. His storm saved lives. His storm gave me laughter and hope. It does not drown me, it lifts me. Another Vayari, younger but sharp-eyed, frowned. You close your mind to all of us. You hear only him. That is not balance. That is obsession. Lysera's voice was calm. Perhaps. But it is my choice. Still, she felt the weight of their disapproval. Among the Vayari, discipline and control were sacred. Her bond with Ethan was something they could not easily understand. Caught between two worlds. For Ethan, the hardest moment came when Captain Duran invited him to a meeting with human representatives. They gathered in a private chamber, their voices low but serious. One official leaned forward. Ethan, you've proven humans can match and even surpass alien partners. But you must be careful. This Vayari Lysera, she reads your mind. All of it. Do you really think that's safe? Ethan stiffened. She saved lives. She saved me. If it weren't for her, none of us would be here. The official pressed on. Maybe. But can you trust someone who knows every thought you think? What if she shares them with her people? What if she uses them against us? Ethan's jaw tightened. His thoughts roared in frustration. They don't get it. She's not my enemy. She's the reason I can even think straight under pressure. Without her, I'd just be another engineer in the background. But he didn't say all of that. Instead, he stood up and said firmly, I trust her more than anyone else on this station. That's all that matters. The room fell silent. Some looked at him with respect, others with doubt. But Ethan had spoken his truth. A quiet conversation that evening, Ethan found Lysera in the garden dome. Artificial lights shone down on green plants, flowers, and small streams of water. It was one of the few peaceful places on Orion's spire. She was sitting by a pond, her reflection rippling on the surface. When Ethan approached, she turned and smiled faintly. You faced questions today, she said softly, as if she had already felt his thoughts. Yeah. Ethan sighed, sitting beside her. They think I'm crazy for trusting you. Lysera tilted her head. And my people think I am reckless for choosing you. They shared a quiet laugh at the irony. Two different worlds, both doubting their bond. Ethan picked up a pebble and tossed it into the pond, watching the ripples spread. Do you ever regret it? Choosing to hear only me? Her eyes softened. No, your mind is messy, yes, loud, chaotic, but it is alive. It is real. I do not regret life. Ethan felt his chest warm at her words. He had always feared his thoughts were a burden. But with her, they became something valuable. For a long time, they sat in silence, listening to the quiet hum of the artificial dome. Ethan's thoughts wandered. Memories of childhood, dreams of the future, and questions he was too afraid to ask. Yet he knew Lysera heard them all, and strangely, that gave him peace. Pressure from both sides. The next day, the pressure grew worse. Humans began treating Ethan as a symbol of their strength. They wanted him to prove humans didn't need aliens at all. Some even whispered that he should stop working with Lysera to show independence. At the same time, the Vayari Council called Lysera to answer for her bond. They warned her that human chaos could cloud her judgment, that she was straying from her people's path. Between the two, Ethan and Lysera felt caught in the middle. One evening, Ethan slammed his hand on the console in frustration. Why can't they see it? We're stronger together. Why do they want to pull us apart? Lysera's calm voice flowed into his mind. Because they fear what they do not understand. But we understand. That is enough. Ethan looked at her, his chest tightening. Is it? Is it really enough? She met his gaze steadily. Yes. as long as you do not doubt it. A small crisis, a big truth. That night, a smaller power failure hit the docking ring. It wasn't life-threatening, but it trapped several ships, causing chaos among merchants. Ethan and Lysera rushed to the scene. Together, they fixed the system quickly. As they worked, Ethan's mind overflowed with thoughts. Complaints about the Council, frustration with the humans, fear that he wasn't strong enough to protect their bond. Lysera heard it all. When the repairs were done, she gently touched his arm. "Do not fear your doubts, Ethan," she whispered. "Even when you doubt yourself, I do not doubt you." Those words struck deeper than any praise he had ever received. For the first time, Ethan realized something. He wasn't just special because Lysera enjoyed his chaotic thoughts. He was special because she trusted him completely, even when he didn't trust himself. The HFY moment days later, the Council gathered again. Tensions were high. Some demanded stricter rules for telepaths. Others argued humans should take command of the station. Captain Duran finally turned to Ethan. "You've been at the center of this from the start. What do you say?" The room fell silent. Every eye turned to him. Ethan swallowed hard, then spoke slowly. "You all think being human means being strong, calm, and in control. But that's not what makes us special. What makes us human is our chaos, our wild thoughts, our imagination, our mistakes, and yes, even our doubts. That's what Lysera saw in me, and it's what saved us all." He looked around the room, his voice steady now. "So if you ask me whether humans can stand alone, sure, maybe we can, but we're stronger when we don't. We're strongest when we let others see us, our real selves, even the messy parts." For a moment, the chamber was silent. Then murmurs spread, not of anger, but of thought. Some nodded. Some frowned. But no one spoke against him. Lysera's eyes met his across the room, and in his mind he heard her whisper, "You spoke your storm." And they listened. A bond like no other. That night, in the quiet of the engineering bay, Ethan and Lysera stood together. The machines hummed softly, casting shadows of light. Ethan exhaled slowly. "So, I guess we're not just fixing machines anymore. We're fixing people too." Lysera's smile was small but warm. "Perhaps. Or perhaps people are fixing themselves through us." Ethan looked at her, his heart racing. His thoughts were loud, clumsy, unpolished. But Lysera heard them all, and she smiled. For the first time, Ethan truly believed that being human was not about hiding his flaws. It was about sharing them, and letting someone else see the beauty inside the chaos. Between two worlds, they had found something greater than either had expected. And though the saboteur was still out there, waiting to strike again, Ethan knew one thing. Whatever storm lay ahead, they would face it together. The station was quiet, at least quieter than it had been in weeks. Orion's spire had survived the sabotage thanks to Ethan Cole and Lysera. But even in the calm, tension lingered. Humans and aliens alike were still on edge, watching, whispering, judging. Ethan walked down the main corridor, tool belt on his shoulder. He tried to appear calm, but his mind was alive with questions. Could their bond survive scrutiny from both sides? Could their partnership endure now that everyone watched them so closely? At the docking hub, Lysera awaited him. Her silver blue hair shimmered softly under the station lights, and her dark eyes met his with quiet certainty. "Ethan," she said, her voice gentle, "there is a meeting tonight. The Council wishes to discuss future security measures." Ethan groaned lightly. "Of course they do. Probably to lecture us about proper protocol or keep telepaths from talking to humans ever again." She smiled faintly. "They will speak. You must speak too. Do not hide who you are," he nodded. "Do not hide who I am," he repeated in his mind. Those words echoed like a drumbeat, and I won't. Not anymore. Facing the Council that evening, the Council chamber was tense. Delegates from dozens of species filled the room, eyes sharp and voices low but insistent. Some humans looked uneasy, whispering about Lysera's influence on Ethan. Some Vayari frowned at her choice to bond with a human. Captain Duran spoke first. "Ethan Cole, Lysera, you have proven the power of human-alien collaboration, but many here worry about the risks of such a bond. Can you address these concerns?" Ethan straightened, his mind alive with thoughts, unfiltered and chaotic as ever. He could feel Lysera at his side, calm and steady, listening. He cleared his throat. "Yes, I can." The delegates leaned forward. Ethan's mind raced, pulling memories of every crisis, every repair, every moment where his chaotic thoughts had saved lives. I thought of coolant flow, junction reroutes, emergency venting. She acted with me at every step. Without her, I'd be nothing in that moment. But together, we're unstoppable, he spoke clearly, firmly. Some of you may think my mind is chaotic, messy, or unpredictable. You're right, it is. But that is what makes humans special. Our minds are full of imagination, emotion, and unexpected ideas. That chaos saved thousands of lives on this station, and it continues to guide us now. The room fell silent. Some frowned in doubt. Others whispered among themselves, but no one interrupted. Ethan glanced at Lysera. Her eyes were calm, but he felt her pride in every thought she sent him. Lysera, he continued. Does she trust me? Yes, and I trust her. Together we are stronger than any one mind alone, and that strength is what will keep this station safe. A dangerous threat returns. Just as Ethan finished speaking, alarms blared again. The station trembled, this time more violently than before. Core destabilization. Reactor pressure critical, shouted the engineers. Ethan grabbed Lysera's hand instinctively. Her eyes glowed faintly as she reached into his mind. Think, fast, do not panic. Ethan's thoughts flew like wildfire. We need to vent the excess energy. Reroute flow through auxiliary lines. Protect the medbay junction. No, wait, coolant flow. Yes, we need to synchronize it now. Lysera moved in perfect harmony with his racing thoughts. Together, they guided engineers, stabilized the reactor, and prevented a catastrophic meltdown. Lights flickered and alarms blared, but the station survived. When it was over, Ethan slumped against a railing, breathing hard. That was too close. Lysera's hand rested on his shoulder. But we succeeded, because we trusted each other. Ethan nodded, realizing that the bond between them was not just personal, it was professional. Vital and irreplaceable. A confession in the calm later that night. Orion Spire was quiet again. The hum of machinery filled the background, soft and reassuring. Ethan and Lysera sat together in the observation deck, looking out at the stars. He turned to her, heart pounding. Lysera, I've been thinking. About us, about this bond. She tilted her head, eyes glowing softly. Go on, Ethan swallowed. I used to be afraid of my thoughts. Afraid they were messy, stupid, or embarrassing. But you showed me that they can be a gift, that my storm is something worth sharing. And I think I care about you, more than I ever thought I could. Lysera's gaze softened. Ethan, I have already felt this. My bond to you is more than professional. Your mind, your chaos, your heart. I value it all. I care for you too. Ethan's chest tightened. He reached for her hand. So we're in this together? Fully? Yes, she said, a faint smile on her lips. Together. For the first time, Ethan felt completely at peace with himself. His thoughts, wild and unfiltered, were no longer a burden. They were a bridge connecting him to someone who understood and valued him. Acceptance from both sides. The next days brought scrutiny, but also understanding. Captain Duran announced that Ethan and Lysera would serve as the official human Veari liaison team, a public position meant to strengthen collaboration and security. Some humans grumbled, worried about telepathic influence. Some Veari murmured their doubts about emotional chaos, but after a few weeks of seeing the team in action, coordinating repairs, stabilizing systems, and preventing further sabotage, skepticism turned to respect. Humans began to see the value in Lysera's telepathy, not as a threat but as a powerful tool. The Veari began to appreciate the unpredictability and creativity of the human mind, which Lysera had praised from the start. In private, Ethan and Lysera would laugh quietly about how strange it was that everyone doubted them. Yet they were stronger than ever. A moment of reflection one evening. As they walked through the garden dome, Ethan spoke quietly. Do you ever regret all this? The public attention, the doubts, the council meetings? Lysera shook her head. No, every challenge we face strengthens us, and I do not regret choosing to hear only you. Ethan stopped, taking her hand in his. I don't either. I used to think my mind was a problem. But with you, it feels like it's exactly where it should be. They stood together in silence, listening to the quiet hum of the station. For once there were no alarms, no crises, only peace. He smiled faintly. You know, humans have a saying. Love is seeing the chaos in someone and still choosing them. Lysera's eyes sparkled. Then we are very human indeed. Ethan laughed, a soft, free sound. I like that. The future awaits days passed into weeks, and Orion Spire thrived under their guidance. New challenges came, of course. Technical failures, new arrivals, minor sabotage attempts. But Ethan and Lysera faced them together. Their bond was no longer secret. It was celebrated as a symbol of human strength and adaptability, paired with alien intelligence and calm. Humans began to realize that their chaotic minds were a gift, not a weakness. The Veari began to understand that perfection was not the only path to strength. Ethan sometimes marveled at it. We really changed things, didn't we? He said one evening, looking out at the stars. Lysera smiled, leaning her head lightly on his shoulder. Yes, and there is more to come. For Ethan, the stars no longer seemed distant or lonely. They were full of possibilities, adventures, challenges, and shared dreams. And with Lysera by his side, he knew they could face anything. A bond opened to the universe. The story of Ethan Cole and Lysera became more than just about saving a station. It was about trust, acceptance, and the beauty of humanity's chaos. Together, they had faced sabotage, fear, and doubt. Together, they had bridged two very different worlds. And together, they had discovered something far more valuable than any technical achievement. A bond that embraced imperfection, celebrated imagination, and found love in an open mind.